Hello, welcome back to another FPL video. I mean, what a week it has been. Game week 13, I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. De Bruyne, Fernandes, what is going on there? A very up and down week with a pretty low average score, as we'll get into. Today, we're going to be looking ahead to game week 14, how the team lines up, if we've done any transfers and the captaincy picks, and also taking a look at how the overall rank has been affected by game week 13, and also a quick look at the fixtures for the coming weekend and how I predict them to go and how I very much want them to go as well. If you're new around here, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Really trying to push for that 200 mark. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and let's go straight into this one. So first things first, a quick little recap of game week 13, and it was a very kind of low scoring week on average. The big boys, the Kevin De Bruyne and the Bruno Fernandes, both blanking. I mean, De Bruyne picking up 2 bonus. How's he managed that without getting a single attack in return? I mean, I wasn't actually too upset with that, having captained him. He got him a couple of extra points and ended up beating Bruno Fernandes. But that being said, most people did captain those two, which is why the game week average was so low. If you managed to captain, or if you managed to have someone like Rashford captain them, you would have absolutely smashed it. And also the likes of Harry Kane and Jamie Vardy also didn't do very well, so it is a week for the differentials. So that being said, how did I fare? I got 50 points, which was a little bit meh. Taking a -4 to bring in Bruno Fernandes for this game week didn't end up going as well as planned, but that being said, I do have him for the coming fixtures, which I think he will do very well in. It's not as though, he's had one blank, so ship him out. He's a great player on penalties, and I think he'll do very well for the rest of the season. That being said, I did bring in Veltman over White for Brighton. Veltman ended up getting benched. White got the clean sheet. I'm really hoping that Veltman does end up starting this weekend, but that was a little bit of a mare because I missed out on 5 points there. Overall points, I'm now lying at 764. My old rank was 585k. I'm a new rank, the smallest of Red Arrows, at 586k. I'm not too disappointed being able to maintain that rank going into the next game week, which, I'm hoping. I'm always looking forward to the next game week, but with the way my midfield, the way my attack lines up, I'm very much looking forward to it. So before we get into the team, let's take a quick look at the fixtures and how they're looking for the game week 14. Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. Now, obviously in this game, I have a massive amount of bias. I want Palace to win. I hope they're going to win, but in the past we had a decent record against Liverpool, but over the past kind of 2 or 3 years, they've just beaten us every time. I can see it going like that. In realistic terms, I'd be saying, 2-1 Liverpool. I do think Palace will score, but you know what? Let's just go for 2-0 Palace. Why not? Southampton versus Manchester City. Now, Manchester City, I think, will really like the way Southampton play, which is why I've got such a captaincy dilemma for this coming game week. I think that Man City will actually do quite well against Southampton. I end up saying this every single week against a team, unless they're playing the likes of Liverpool, Spurs, I end up saying, I think Man City are going to do very well, but I think it's a reasonable prediction to have. That being said, you have to respect Southampton and how well they've been playing. Che Adams, Danny Ings up front, they've both been smashing it this season. Yes, Danny Ings has been out, but he looks just as good as he has ever been. Then Everton versus Arsenal, one of those interesting games where it could go either way. Everton have looked very good going forward this season, poor defensively. Arsenal have looked pretty poor in both, but you never really know with this Arsenal side whether they'll come back. One thing I will say is that Gabriel is suspended for this game, and he kind of looks massive in that defence for Arsenal. So I reckon that Everton do go and pick this one. I'm going to go with 2-1. I do reckon Arsenal will score, but I think Everton will nab this one. Then we have Newcastle Fulham. Now, I know a lot of people will be hoping for Newcastle to score, maybe even keep a clean sheet in this one. I'm definitely hoping for a Newcastle clean sheet. However, Fulham have been playing very well. We could see another kind of drab 0-0 like the one we saw against Brighton. Fulham, when they go away from home, they love to really sit in deep and counter. So we could see them nabbing it. So if anything, I do think this one will be a draw. So kind of 0-0, 1-1 is what I'm going to go for. It's going to end up being one of those games that's like 5-5 or something, because everyone thinks it's going to go poorly. But yeah, we'll go with 0-0 for that one. Then we have Brighton versus Sheffield. Hopefully, Veltman starts. I am praying that he starts. We have news on Lamptey, whether he will, whether he won't play. Obviously, I don't want him to play, because then Veltman definitely does play. I still think Veltman has a shout of playing this weekend, because, he probably was just resting in midweek to then play for this weekend. But That being said, for this result, I think I'm going to have to go with Brighton winning this 1-0. I think they'll scrape this one over the line. Sheffield United have looked very poor so far this season. Yes, they scored 2 goals against Manchester United, but it just wasn't enough. And both of them they were more mistakes than anything. I mean, the first one, that rolled pal Dean Henderson just gifted them a goal, and then a corner. I mean, that's really the only way they're going to score this season. And Brighton defensively from corners, they've got some big lads at the back, so I don't see Sheffield scoring from any kind of set piece. Spurs versus Leicester. You do just see Spurs going and winning this one. I'm going to go with 1-0 Spurs. Well, actually, I'm going to go with 2-0 Spurs. Not really much more to say other than I think they look defensively great and attacking going forward. Harry Kane and Son can definitely do something in this game. Man United lead. It could either be one of those games that's kind of like 4-3, 4-4, or we could see like a 1-1 like City, where both teams kind of have a bit of a stalemate, which, as I said, I will get onto, is why I'm debating so heavily over the captaincy choice. Man United have only scored 3 goals at home this season. However, you do look at the sides they played against, the likes of Spurs, the likes of Chelsea, the likes of Man City, even Arsenal on the day can be defensively good. And then you sort of think, well, actually, that's probably the reason why they haven't scored too many goals. West Brom versus Villa. Now, Sam Allardyce has just come into the side, so I don't think his impact is going to be seen just yet. So I'm going to go with Aston Villa to win this one 2-0. Hopefully, Jackie Grealish can pull something out of the bag in this one. Then we have Burnley versus Wolves. I'm going to go with a very drab 0-0 in this game. Burnley just looks very defensively solid, as we are used to seeing them in the Premier League. They've kept 4 clean sheets out of the last 6, and I don't really see any different here. I really was looking to try and bring in Charlie Taylor for this week, but unfortunately I'm unable to do so. But I do think this will be quite a low scoring game. If anyone's going to nick it, probably will be Wolves. The likes of Pedro Neto, loads of people are transferring in. Then Chelsea, West Ham to finish us off. Now, Chelsea have lost the past 2 games. Now, Chelsea, after kind of being title contenders, which they most likely still are, have gone on lost their last 2 games to Everton and to Wolves. I mean, 2 very tough sides, that being said, but if they're title contenders, ones that you'd probably expect them to go and win, this is a real big opportunity for them to really get back on track. They need to win this game. A lot of people will be hoping for clean sheets, some Chelsea attacking returns. I do see West Ham scoring. They do look decent going forward. However, I watched the entirety of the Palace game, and West Ham didn't really impress me very much. They scored a 1 goal and didn't really create much else. But that being said, the fact that they have that in them, they've got that level of quality that they can pull out that kind of goal, means that they could easily go and nab one here. I'm going to go with 3-1 Chelsea. So having looked at the fixtures, how does the team line up? Manuel Martinez at the back, 11 points, 8 points, 2 games in a row. He's absolutely smashed it. We can probably expect a clean sheet against West Brom in this game as well. The guy's on fire, probably going to end up as a higher scoring FPL asset, and I'm very glad to have got him at 4.5 million. Then we have Jamal Lewis in there along with Veltman and Kurt Zouma. I'm not actually expecting too much from these guys. Hopefully Jamal Lewis can nab a clean sheet against Fulham, although Fulham have, as I've said, looked pretty good so far this season. I am praying, as I said, that Veltman does start this week against Sheffield United, because it's one of the most guaranteed clean sheets you're gonna get throughout the season. If you're picking a team to play against and you want a clean sheet, you're either going for Sheffield or Burnley. They've been absolutely woeful in front of goal this season. So hopefully Veltman does play, and then Kurt Zouma against West Ham. Maybe he can nab a goal. He hit the bar against Wolves. I was watching the game head in hand. Like, what in the world? How has he not scored? He's hit the bar. It's not really come off the bar, but it's come off the bar and come inside and just not gone over the line. Absolutely glad about that. But Kurt Zouma easily could score in this game and nab a clean sheet. Now we move on to the midfield, my favourite part of the team, because it is just so cracked. Look at that midfield. Fernandes, Son, Salah, De Bruyne, Grealish, all the players that you want in there. Yes, I have to forfeit a little bit at the back, which I'm working on kind of improving. By game week 16, I think my defence is going to be very solid. Currently got the captaincy on De Bruyne. Obviously, I'm really debating between De Bruyne and Fernandes. As I said, Man United have only scored 3 goals at home. Then you look at the teams they played against. De Bruyne, I think, Man City, after losing, they tend to bounce back, and they're going to really like the style of play that Southampton have. At the end of the day, I think both players will probably have the same amount of points. I'm almost just leaning towards De Bruyne because he plays first. So it would just be nice to watch him when he pops off in that game and not really have to worry about the captaincy from then on. Then we also have Sonny Boy in the midfield, the man, the myth, the legend. I mean, he's just smashing it this season. Well over 100 points already. And he's a player, along with, I think, Salah, who genuinely just looks like an absolute season keeper for me. Maybe Fernandes is up there as well. De Bruyne hasn't quite hit that level. He's probably one of the only players who I'd potentially think about sort of taking out to sort of maybe downgrade or even go for a straight swap like Mane. But I think Son, I mean, it's not a fixture that I look at and go, you know, he definitely can or can't score. It's one of those 50-50s where he definitely could pull something out of the bag. Then we've got Salah against Crystal Palace. Probably expect him to do something there. He's got a half decent record against Palace. Away from home though, I think Palace will give them a tough game, but Salah could definitely come in with some kind of return, and he also does have a history of winning penalties against Palace. Then Grealish against West Brom, really hoping that he can return, get a goal, grab some assists. I mean, how he didn't... I mean, you come away from Aston Villa games, especially being a Grealish owner, just being like, how in the world has he not returned? The amount of balls he was slipping through to Traore, to El Ghazi, and they just fluffed their lines. El Ghazi had 8 shots in that game, and I reckon 5 or 6 of them would have been assisted by Jack Grealish. So how in the world he's not returning that game, I do not know, but definitely a player you just have to stick by because those returns will most definitely come. Then the 2 legends up front. We've got Calvert-Lewin and the fraud himself, Patrick Bamford, defying everyone's expectations. And they both kind of just got them fixtures where, because they're attackers, you just kind of you keep them in. They could potentially do something. I'm not really expecting Bamford to do anything against United, but that being said, Leeds create so many opportunities that he could easily score. I mean, the amount of tap-ins he's got this season, like the goal he scored against Newcastle was literally just an open goal tap-in from a rebound, but he's the guy who's there. That's what matters. He's the main man playing up front. He's scoring goals this season because of the amount of chances that are being created. And the same with DCL. I mean, he creates his own luck. He hasn't scored in the past 3 or 4, but he's been picking up some assists and just ticking over, which is really nice to see. Then it comes to the bench, and I really want to sort out that Nyland spot sometime soon. However, it's not like a complete rush. It's when I have a free transfer that I'm going to sort that spot out. Then we have Nathaniel Klein, Brewster, and Dunn making up the rest of the bench. Hopefully Klein starts against Liverpool, although, you know, he would just come in for Veltman if he doesn't play, but then if Veltman doesn't play, he will most likely be subbed on for Lamptey at some point during the game to kind of manage Lamptey's minutes. So I'm kind of just really hoping that Veltman does start that game, but Klein is there as just sort of a bench option just in case. Then we have Brewster as well. I cannot see how Sheffield can keep going on not starting this guy. When he comes on, he looks very good, but Chris Wilder is seemingly just preferring McGoldrick and McBurney up front. I mean, to be fair, McGoldrick looks like he'll get another start because he scored a brace in the Man United game. However, you know, that Sheffield need to try something different if they're going to stand any chance of staying up this season. And then obviously Dunn probably needs to be rotated at some point, but hopefully in the January transfer window, or maybe when Nathan Ferguson comes back from injury, we get a 3.94 million option who actually does start and play. So there's been a quick little look ahead to game week 14 of FPL fixtures. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you're new around here, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. Hit that like button if you enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.